So, I'm here today in a random laneway with some brick walls, but why am I here? Well, I'm here because of an Australian engineer who went to war and then came back to be the head of a public service. Now, it's not John Monash, it is Robert Risson. You might know him from the famous Melbourne still having trams. And this isn't the only place around here that is named after him, case in point. But that's just one part of the story. So I guess I'll just give a bit of a cliff notes of this fine gentleman, Sir Robert Risson. So he obviously started off as an engineer. He studied civil engineering up in sunny Brisbane. He was involved with the tramways between 1923 and the Second World War in the late 30s, because Brisbane was actually somehow the peak of trams and tram technology. But anyway, he was then an engineer in the Tobruk campaign in World War II, obviously on the Allied side. Came back to Brisbane after that and was part of the last hurrah of the trams in Brisbane, with stuff like the Chermside extension late in his career with Brisbane's tramways. He then came down to Melbourne for these things over here, and is the reason why I'm standing to the side of Risson Lane. And he was the head of the MMTB for about 20 years, from 1949 until 1970. He also oversaw the Bourke Street trams, which, as you might know, there are trams on Bourke Street. Before Risson, there were plans to put him there, but there were buses at the time, which was really crap, honestly. I can't imagine Bourke Street having buses instead of trams. That's a weird one. And he obviously had a bunch of battles with the tramway worker union throughout the 50s and 60s. It's a guy named Clary O'Shea, who some argue is equally responsible for the tram still existing, but anyway. And then the last kind of hurrah of Risson as the tram guy was the 1969 Transportation Plan, which actually is a document called Melbourne Transport 1985, which entrenched trams as the Melbourne form of transport. Now, I think it would have been a bit rude to Sir Robert Risson to not show some Brisbane footage, so here you go. But anyway, I think the most interesting part of that about this guy is the fact that people seem to just glaze him for saving up trams down in Melbourne when, well, he also kind of was not very happy with communism and unions and all that. And there's newspaper articles where he's basically saying like, oh, the unions should just agree to my offer and not, do strikes and actually use their power, while of course, providing the working people with the trams that get them to where they need to go. So, interesting guy. I think everyone contains multitudes. Some people save trams while being anti-communist, which, I mean, military man in the 1900s, why not? But yeah, hopefully you know who Robert Risson is, and if someone brings up Rissonism, they're probably just joking about being a very big fan of trams, which I am. Shout out trams.